Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Item Breakdowns, a series where we take a look at each item individually and break down their stats, build path, as well as visuals and animations you'll expect to see in-game. Today we're going to be looking at an interesting Mythic AD item called Eclipse. This item gives a lot of attack damage as well as healing and armor penetration, and is strangely enough viable on a lot of bruisers, assassins, as well as a couple of ranged champions. So without any further ado, let's just jump right into it. Now the first thing we're going to take a look at is the basic stats for this item. Right away we see we have 55 attack damage as well as 10% Omnivamp and 18 lethality, which is scaling armor penetration. Now looking at the Omnivamp, the way Omnivamp works is this is healing from both auto attacks and damaging abilities from the champion that we were playing, and it is healing from all damage types, meaning that if we deal physical damage, magic damage, and true damage, all of those will heal us from the Omnivamp stat. One thing to note, AoE abilities will be reduced to a third healing. So if we have 10% Omnivamp playing Renekton, our auto attacks will get the 10% proc. However, our Q, since it is AoE, will only get 3.33% of the heal. Now, because this item exclusively gives us offensive stats without any attack speed, and it does not give any tank stats whatsoever, this is great for assassin-style champions. Now, the reason I say assassin-style and not assassins specifically is because this item is good on a few champions across 3 different classes. So, looking at Marksman, for example, Graves would be a great example of somebody who can benefit from this, because even though it doesn't have attack speed, he's still partly ability-based in how he does damage. So the attack damage, healing, and the lethality are going to be great for him. For assassins in general, such as Talon or Zed, this is a great overall and well-rounded item. It doesn't have any haste or cooldown reduction, so that is a little bit of a disadvantage, but this does give them some more durability. And in the case of somebody like, say, Pantheon, as far as bruisers are concerned, this is still a great item to pick up for the attack damage and healing, as well as the lethality, because he's a bit scrappy but still plays as a durable assassin style, so that would make this item a perfect fit for him. Now the next thing we're going to look at is the passive effect portion of this item, and it reads as follows. Unique Ever Rising Moon. Hitting an enemy champion with 2 separate attacks or abilities within 1.5 seconds deals 6% of the target's maximum health as bonus physical damage and grants you 15% movement speed. Now we get a little bit of a difference in stats for melee and ranged champions. For melee champions, you get a 150 plus 40% bonus AD shield for 2 seconds, and if you are ranged, it's 75 plus 20% of your bonus AD. And for melee champions, this is on an 8-second cooldown, and for ranged champions, this is on a 16-second cooldown. Now, obviously, for the shield part of the passive, as well as the cooldown on the effect of the passive, melee champions clearly have an advantage here, but it is still equal for both melee and ranged champions in terms of the damage it deals and the movement speed that it grants, thus giving it viability for both styles of champion. This is a mythic item, so it also gives us 4% armor penetration per legendary item that we have. So when you get to late game with Boots, your mythic, and 4 legendaries, you're going to have an additional 20% armor penetration from just this item. And as always, because it is a mythic, you are only limited to buying one of them. So once this is completed, you can only focus on boots and legendaries. So now that we've looked at the basic stats for this item, the next thing we're going to take a look at is the proper build path of the epic items that build into the mythic of Eclipse. So the first item that we want to rush is our Serrated Dirk, and this item gives us 30 attack damage, as well as passively 10 lethality, which again is scaling armor penetration from level 1 to level 18. The second item that we want to build is Vampiric Scepter, which gives us 15 attack damage and 10% lifesteal. Now, lifesteal is physical damage healing exclusively off of auto attacks. And the reason we want to rush the Serrated Dirk first is because Eclipse is a mythic item. Early game, we want more damage versus a little bit of healing, so the Serrated Dirk on our first or second back is going to give us extra burst damage against our opponents. And then when we get to the Vampiric Scepter, then we'll pick up our healing as well as our final longsword. And once we have 850 gold plus all of those items completed, we will finally have our Eclipse ready to go. So now that we've covered the proper build path and the appropriate way to build this item, I want to get into the visuals and animations that you'll expect to see from Eclipse in game. So the first thing we notice here on Graves is Eclipse will be ready to go when you see this ethereal starry animation around your champion's hands. This means that the next 2 auto attacks or abilities procced will proc the damage, movement speed, and shield from Eclipse. Now the next thing we're going to look at is what happens and what to expect when Eclipse procs, and there's 3 things that we notice. First of all, unlike other items like Trinity Force that grant the movement speed buff, Eclipse doesn't give an animation for your increase in movement speed. However, when you activate Eclipse, we see 2 additional things happening. The first one is the bonus shield that we get is a starry ethereal bubble that appears around our champion. So in Graves' case here, when he does 2 autos or an auto and ability, we see that he gets the bonus shield from the Eclipse passive. But also on the enemy, when Eclipse procs as well, they get more of a flowy, starry animation that appears around them, and it is the exact same color scheme and animations as the passive bubble from Eclipse. So when you activate it, you'll see that at the same time that the bubble shield appears around Graves, you'll also get a similar animation on your enemy, indicating that the bonus damage went off. Well guys, that's all I have for you today. With a brand new Mythic item that fits across 3 different classes, this is a great item to pick up and try out if you want a little bit of extra sustain in lane, as well as dealing some additional burst damage and taking your enemies off guard. Don't forget to hit me up on Twitter, and for some awesome video game photography, don't forget to follow me on Instagram. And as always guys, thank you very much for watching, and we will see each other again tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.